Really, it's all about Robbie, right? And our sub-drummer today, Tom. Okay, so, great song. You wrote that, right? Yes. Okay, so I know, right? Kelly Britt, I expect to hear you singing this someday. I knew you were sitting there going, I'm nailing that song. I'm taking that song. I knew it. I could feel it from way down here. Yeah, Joanne Worley, you can sing it too. Okay. Yeah. It's actually your theme. Just like mine. So here's the thing about that song. It's clever, it's funny, it's cute, it's all of those things, but it's also very insightful, very smart, and scientifically correct. It is, because she's, no offense, scientifically correct. Every time I say scientifically, I hear, prove it. Because if you're going to say it's all about me, it's true, because it's all about what I think. Nothing is going to show up in your life that you are not equal to. I mean, that's really good news. I know for some people they think it's bad news because they feel that they're stuck in whatever they're thinking, but that's not the case. You're not. So it is all about you. It's all about me. And the me that I talk about is the mental equivalent. The mental equivalent. It's all about me. It's all about what am I equal to in life. And guess what? You actually get to decide what you are equal to in life. It's not like suddenly you're born into the equality. How many people here were born as really opulent, rich, successful people? Okay, like, wow, what an interesting crowd. Like nobody except for Jose. Okay, you too? Kim? Oh, it wasn't that kind of question, but okay. Yeah. So okay. Yes, but just looking at the relative facts, okay, I was born, as many of you know now, in Philadelphia, in a row home to a cop and a housewife. So, and look where I ended up. Here with you. So, so really it is about me and Bob Morrissey. Look at us. It's really about your mind. You have landed where you've landed because of the mental equivalent that is your life. And here's what I want to really disabuse you of. It is not the mental equivalent of everything that's come before this. Really get rid of that notion that you are everything that you've done up to this point. No, that's just what you're experiencing. You're experiencing the result of this mental equivalent of everything you've done up to this point. But the minute you get clear and the minute you tap into love, meaning the creative inspiration that God is, that I am, the minute you tap into that, cut loose from all of that. How many of you would like to cut loose at least from some of that? Right? So that's what we get to do, and especially today on Valentine's Day, because the title of my talk today is something about the greatest love of my life. That's the title of it. The greatest love of my life. So the greatest love of my life really better be me. And the greatest love of your life really better be you. Because if we are love, then we better get really clear and really get in touch with the love that lives us. Not the, as Jason said, not the emotions and the feelings, not the romanticized understanding of love. I love that we can take Valentine's Day in religious science and in New Thought and turn it into a national holiday of self-awareness. Although I loved that, Self-Awareness Day, sad. That was funny. But really, it is better. I would rather we all celebrate our individuality, as Troward says, our singleness, understanding that that single thing that I am, that individual drop of the ocean that I am, that is one with the entire ocean, knows who it is, what it has the capacity to do, and then does it. That's what we can celebrate today on Valentine's Day. How do you feel about that? Okay, good. Thank you very much. So, as if. Okay. So, I have a quote here from Carl Jung, and it's this. Can I do this without my glasses? Yes, I can. Okay. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. The most terrifying thing is to accept one's self completely. So I have a little exercise for you today to just do right now as you're sitting here. When I say accept yourself completely, does anything come up that challenges the word completely? Is there anything that comes up for you that says, I can accept myself, but I'm having trouble accepting this about myself? Yes? How many people have something, just something that came up? I was just going to go, great, good for you. So that's the thing you need to look at. If you are going to love yourself completely, and I love that Carl Jung says it's terrifying to do that, because guess what? If you actually love yourself completely, you're going to have to get rid of all your excuses. You're going to have to get rid of all those yeah buts. You're going to have to get rid of all those reasons that actually give you things to live. Because many people live the things they don't like as opposed to the things they do like. And they spend more time on those things. And if we go back to Karen's song, it is all about me, my mental equivalent. Where are you going to put your attention? So Carl Jung is absolutely right. As terrifying as it is, that is our biggest job in life, to love ourselves unconditionally. Now, I'm getting that opportunity every time I get on the stage with Sissy Boy. And there's an interesting thing that's starting to happen for me, which is that as I'm telling my stories, in my head, they're morphing into different understandings of the stories, and yet I have a script, lest you think I'm just riffing up here. Riffing, that's funny. I'm not. I have a script that I have written. Every word is written and memorized to the best of my ability. But in my head, they're morphing. And I realized last night I was in the middle of one story, and I didn't get lost, but I said a line, and in my head I was like, oh, you know what that means? And in the other part of my head, I'm going, you don't have time to know what that means. There's another line coming up, and people waiting for it. And so I literally was up here going, no. Really. And there was a moment, Alex, where I just took a deep breath, and I went, just go on. But here's what happens. If we're willing to love ourselves unconditionally, we get a different version of our life. Same facts. The facts of your life are not going to change. I hate to tell you this. Nothing's going to change about anything your mother and father did to you up to this point, or any person on the planet. Everything that happened, happened. Right? We all good with that? Everything that happened, happened. Your relationship to it, however, changes as you change. As you love yourself unconditionally, you love all of it unconditionally. I loved what Jason said about his divorce. You know, his ex-wife, Jody, beautiful, beautiful, lovely woman. They came to me, and we talked about what was going on, and they chose to know that our time together is done. We're not, this is not good for us. We need to go our separate ways. They did it with love, they did it with respect, and they did it with the protection and the most incredible attention on this little child, and who is just growing into an amazing man. And what happens when you open the door to that, when you insist on loving your way through life, literally loving your way through life, the door opens up to the powers to be, and Heather Powers shows up. And that really is what happens. So Carl Jung is absolutely correct. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. But the most gratifying thing is to accept oneself completely as well. And today could be the day where you just start doing it. Really start doing it. Make this Valentine's Day the day where you start a love affair, a love relationship with yourself. Because when you have a love relationship with yourself, when you know who you are, when you are solid in loving who you are and accepting who you are the most attractive thing on the planet. Literally. How many of you have been around someone, like me, who are just so happy with who they are, love themselves so much, that you just feel it, don't you? I don't mean me, but I do mean me, because I do love myself. Yes, look at the loving people I attracted. So if you are willing to do that, to really love yourself, you do become the most attractive person on the planet. Because whether you know it or not, you, Suzanne Benoit, are the center of the universe. Yes. Of course. We've all known that for many years. Jan, you're the center of the universe. Every single one of us. Adam, you're the center of the universe. So the center of the universe just shifts. From person to person, place to thing, it just continually shifts. Wherever I go, it's the center of the universe. I'm here, I'm at the center of the universe. When I was over there, I was at the center of the universe. You are the center of the universe at all times. That's how this whole thing has been created. And if you are willing to be the center of the universe, then you have to be willing to be the love that is the center of the universe. And if you're willing to be the love, you are going to attract everything like yourself. So look at your life, see what you're attracting, because whatever you're attracting, there's something in you that is like it. No matter what it is, the good, the bad, or the indifferent. So I have this, the title of my talk, as I said, is The Love of My Life. I found something when I was researching my talk. This came up, and it was I usually do tiny little quotes. This huge thing came up, but it was by Charlie Chaplin, so I thought, I'm going to read this. I read it, and by the time I was done reading it, I was crying. I said, well, now I'm going to have to read the whole thing at church. Here goes. So, but I am going to put my glasses on. Okay, so I want you all to take a deep breath, because here's a man, everybody knows who Charlie Chaplin is, right? I don't have to go through that. Anybody not know who Charlie Chaplin is? Okay, great. So here's a man who had a very interesting life. He came into this world as a clown. As a child, he was a clown. He just was innately funny. And then he became the #1 movie star of the world. #1. And then, right after he was just the biggest thing going, I think it was United Artists was his company that he founded, so that he had ownership of all of his products. Smart man, way back when. And then, talkies came in, and he resisted them. He just didn't think it was going to be important for any of us to hear what anyone was saying. And he literally said that in this article I was reading. And so he resisted them. And then he got into all these, and as he resisted them, and here's the thing I found in reading his biography, he resisted them, and the resistance and the anger and his unfortunate feeling about how everyone was like not on his side anymore caused him many problems in life. He just went from catastrophe to catastrophe. Not financially, by the way. This is a man who was smart, knew what he knew about money. And so by the end of his life, he was literally, he was living in Switzerland. He no longer had citizenship. The United States, turned against him and thought he was a communist. A lot of things going on in his life. But towards the end of his life, once he had put it all together in his head, this is what he wrote. As I began to love myself, I found that anguish and emotional suffering are only warning signs that I was living against my own truth. Today, I know this as authenticity. So that was #1, and he did these 10 commandments for his life. So how many of you have things like emotional suffering or anguish in your life or challenges of any kind? I love that concept. It's a warning signal, and it is. It tells us something's off here. If you're attracting things that you don't want in your life, that's not a problem. The problem is if you ignore it and think you're stuck with it. It's just telling you, what's up? Let's get back to the truth. #2, as I began to love myself, I understood how much it can offend somebody if I try to force my desires on this person, even though I knew the time was not right and the person was not ready for it, and even though this person was me. Today, I call that respect. So how many of us try to live lives that we think we should be living, even though there's a life inside of us desperately trying to get out? That's desperately saying to us, this is who you are. Live me. I know it's scary. I know they're telling you it's impossible. I know that you have every reason in the world not to live this. And I know that this is comfortable over here, even though you're living a life of quiet anguish. Live me. That's what he's saying, to respect what's inside of us. If I love me unequivocally, then I must respect what's coming through me, no matter what it is. #3, as I began to love myself, I stopped craving for a different life. And I could see that everything that surrounded me was inviting me to grow. Today, I call that maturity. Not getting angry about these things, not getting in a pissy state because this is happening and then it's his fault, it's her fault, all that stuff, but just saying, okay, this is here to grow me. How am I going to grow? Am I willing to grow? And then he says, as I began to love myself, I understood that at any circumstance, I am in the right place at the right time, and everything happens at the exactly right moment. So I could be calm. Today, I call that self-confidence. I call that my life is unfolding perfectly. How many of you live that these days? My life is unfolding perfectly. Pick it up, live it. Trust that your life is unfolding perfectly, because guess what? It is. No matter what's going on. I don't care if it's the stage 4 cancer days, that was my life unfolding perfectly. I have gained so much from that. So much. I never need to go through it again. I already got that message. And I'm not saying any of you need a message like that to learn. Ernest Holmes is very clear when he says that we need no more suffering in the world to learn anything. But if it happens to show up at your doorstep, your life is unfolding perfectly. It gets you through it much quicker. And you get the lesson much quicker too. He says, as I began to love myself, I quit stealing my own time. Anybody? I quit stealing my own time, and I stopped designing huge projects for the future. Wow. Today, I only do what brings me joy and happiness, things I love to do and that make my heart cheer, and I do them in my own way and in my own rhythm. Today, I call this simplicity. How many of you, in your heart's desire, if I were your Valentine and I could give you anything, how many of you would ask for simplicity in your life? Right? Some of you maybe want adventure, whatever. I love this concept. Just simplicity. Simplicity. Just keeping things so simple that I actually understand it in a profound way. As I began to love myself, I freed myself of anything that is not good for my health. Food, people, things, situations, and everything that drew me down and away from myself. At first, I called this attitude a healthy egoism. Today, I know it as self-love. So right at the end of Bods, how great is that to just read this? Free myself of food that doesn't work, people that don't work, things that don't work, situations that don't work. I'm going to have to move to Belize. So what do you have to do to really free yourself from all of that stuff? The answer is very clear. And those of you who took Bods, and I have to tell you, 6 weeks of Bods with 91 people was just so amazing for me as I was in the middle of this. It was just amazing. The blogging, there were over 600 blogs through the course of the weeks. It was just amazing. And what we came to was, and there's been a lot of, interestingly enough, weight loss in that program that was unintentional. Because I did not set this program up as a program for weight loss. I set it up as a program for weight loss, to lose the weight in the mind that is bogging us down. And after 6 weeks of that, my cousin was shocked. She was like, oh my God, I lost weight and I didn't even try. I'm like, you did. Because it's what he's saying here. Self-love. If I love myself, I am not going to eat badly. If I love myself, I'm not going to lay around my house and just watch TV and eat ice cream. A lot. I said that because the other night I was sitting there eating some ice cream and watching TV. But it was low-fat yogurt. So, as I began to love myself, I quit trying. Oh, you'll love this, Jason. As I began to love myself, I quit trying to always be right. And ever since I was wrong less and less of the time. Today, I discovered that this is modesty. And I love that. The idea of humility and modesty, I don't really promote those qualities because I think they're abused. They keep people from being in their power. But I think it is smart to be modest and humble in this sense. If I think it's me doing it, then that's an egotism where I'm edging God out. And when I think it's me doing it, then my idea of humble is just a way for me to shrink. But when I get that it's something bigger, I can be humble to the fact there is something actually bigger than all of this that's literally flowing through me, and it is what I am. So I can be humble and modest and yet still be the bigness that ocean is. So I totally get what he's saying here. As I began to love myself, I refused to go on living in the past and worrying about the future. Now I only live in the moment where everything is happening. Today I live each day by day by day by day, and I call it fulfillment. Well, if Eckhart Tolle is teaching us anything, it's that if you stay present in the moment, it's the only place the power is. And I can tell you, doing a show where you're the only one on stage and the other actors can't help you, think about that. If it stops, it stops. You stop, it's over. I really get it. You have to stay present. The power's right here. The minute, my daughter said it to me too, before the show last night, she said, don't forget, don't be thinking about what's coming up. Because I apparently said a wrong word the night before. And so she's like monitoring every step I take. So if you're willing to stay present, that's where the power, that's the thing. The power is only present in the present moment. And yet, how often are you thinking about the future? And how often are you thinking about the past? So, I'm almost done. As I began to love myself, I recognized that my mind can disturb me, and it can make me sick. But as I connected it to my heart, my mind became a valuable ally. Today, I call this connection the wisdom of the heart. And Jason kind of talked on it a little bit, which is this concept that in science of mind, we can become such a heady community, all about the intellect and the science of this, and science schmience, because the truth is, it is going to come down to a feeling in the end. Science can prove everything. Everything science proves, it eventually disproves and tells us it's something else. How many times have you, for years I had a heart murmur, for years I had to take antibiotics to go to the dentist. Anybody? Yeah. And now, oh no, we never needed to do that. Really? All those years of taking antibiotics to go to the dentist, and oh, that really wasn't necessary. So, science, feeling, intuition, divine intuition, wisdom, knowing it from within, that's really what it is all about. Wisdom of the heart. So we have to be willing to connect our heart to our minds and understand, just like those two energies, it's one thing. I always want to think from my heart. That doesn't make me weak. That doesn't make me a softie. It's not like, oh, I'm thinking by my heart. No, my heart is the divine energy power of the universe. And as it moves through me, connecting to my brain, I'm able to actually use it, understand it, be it, live it. That's what it means to be wise of heart. And then the last one he says is, we no longer need to fear arguments, confrontations, or any kinds of problems with ourselves or with others. Even stars collide. And out of their crashing, new worlds are born. Today, what I know is that is life. How brilliant is Charlie Chaplin? Just brilliant. So when I read that, I was like, okay, so here's a man. By the way, he wrote it at the age of 88, right before he died. And I guess it's one thing to get to the end of your life and have perspective about it. And certainly as I'm going about my world these days, I am, at 61 years, Kevin said to me this morning, somebody had passed away, and Kevin said, well, he was 78, so he'd lived a long life. And I went, hello? I said, I am 61. You think 78, you think 17 years is all I've got left? And he says, no, I'm not talking about you. But it's interesting how we think that 78 is a long life. Anybody here even past 78? I'm sure. Good for you, Dick. Joe Jordan, did you raise your hand? Good. That's so funny. So my point, my point is, don't wait till you're 88 or 92 or 105. Don't wait till then to have perspective on your life. Have the perspective now. I want to get all of this now. Everything Charlie Chaplin said, I want to actively live in my life. And what he said is these 10 things: authenticity, respect, maturity, self-confidence, simplicity, love of self, modesty, fulfillment, wisdom of the heart, and to understand that all of that is what life is about. To be able to live that, to be able to live from that, to be able to be that, that's the greatest Valentine I could ever give myself. And we have the capacity to do that. I don't need to wait till I have to write Sissy Boy 2 to figure all of this, which is never happening, to figure all of this out. So each one of us today, the charge today truly is to start to love yourself, as I started this, as Caressa started our day with Dr. Ernest Holmes. To love everybody. Remember, if you're going to love everybody, you're included in everybody. Start here and then project that out. Project that out to the world. There's just no reason to be upset. There's no reason to get angry. There's no reason to hold grudges. There's no reason to live in a world of unforgiveness. If there's anything in you that needs to be forgiven in yourself or that you need to forgive, you must do it. You cannot live from this place and be holding on to grudges and bad feelings. Now, as Maya Angelou says, when someone shows you who they are, believe it the first time. It's not that you turn around and go, oh, that person's a beautiful person. No, that person's not operating on a very good level of consciousness. I get that. I still have to love them, but I don't have to have them for dinner. Or in my life. I get to do that. But you can still do it from a loving place. I don't have to be married to this woman, but I do have to love her and make sure that we come from a loving place. That's really what this is all about. So, Science of Mind gets to claim Valentine's Day as a very important holiday, as the holiday where we really celebrate, we really get in touch with this idea that love is an energy, love is a feeling, love is a knowing. And if we are willing to energize ourselves, feel what we feel about ourselves, to know the truth about ourselves, then we get to say, I am love. And then we get to live it outright and just project it forward. And then we go back to the top of Karen's song, and then it is all about me, the mental equivalent that when I am love, what comes back to me is love and only love. Namaste.